Space Arena. Saga Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Space Arena Ground Arena podcast where we cover Star Wars Unlimited from the ground up. We've got all three hosts here right after the launch of the game. So I'm Kennedy, one of your hosts. We've got Banana. How's it going?
I'm good. Happy to be here. How are you?
I am
Thanks for having me.
stoked. And we've got Mr. Ben. How's it going over there?
I'm surrounded by piles of cards, and it's glorious.
Yes, so many piles of cards that need sorting. It's unfortunate, but exciting at the same time. So I would ask what we've all been playing, but I think we all know the answer to what we've all been playing. If we haven't been playing Star Wars Unlimited since release, then we've probably been doing life wrong. So that's what I've been playing. I assume that's what you've all been playing based on your nods. So we'll get today's topics because we've got 3 topics plus listener questions today. We're going to talk about our pre-release events and how they went. We're going to talk about how regular release went with people, and we're going to talk about what decks we've all been tinkering with right now. We're each going to pick one deck, go through it really quick, and say some of our favorite things about it and some of its maybe strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that. So, pre-release first. We will kick off with Mr. Ben, who I'm pointing at, but you can't see. It's off camera. There you go.
Okay, so I initially went to the store around noon, and we were doing drafts. There was a bunch of dudes who kind of all showed up, and it turned into like, hey, let's just do some drafts. So we all bought our pre-release kits, pulled out 3 packs, and I literally was drafting for the Thrawn deck that I wanted to build, and I did not care whatsoever how I performed at that. I was picking pretty cards and stuff that I needed to build Thrawn, and I went even in that. So later that day, me and my son went back to the same store for the actual sealed pre-release, and like I walked in, and one of the guys was like, hey, I need you to teach these 7 people how to play. Okay. I mean, these are good problems to have. So every seat was full, every table, like the store was at maximum capacity, which is great. It was my kid, one of the owner's kids, another guy. There was a bunch of like 12, 13-year-olds as all the way up to, us old men. So like a really cool age range. I dropped no games throughout the event. It was awesome. I was on Boba. And I was overpaying for Cantina bouncers, and it was working out with no problems. So it was a glorious day.
Nice. No games dropped. So you're crushing people, crushing noobs. Huh?
6-0.
Any tough matchups or no?
One guy was on Thrawn, and I was concerned about him preventing me being able to do Boba Fett things and ready my resources and kind of cheat out those extra. But he just didn't have, like, the game went long, but at the end of the game, I had Change of Heart to steal his guys. I had the Cantina bouncers that I was paying 7 for to bounce his guys. And it just, every game kind of ended with some combination of me having, like, expensive cards to, like, wipe the field and just push damage. But that one got, I think game 1 against Thrawn got close. But other than that, I mean, I had a little bit of an unfair advantage in that some of the people I played, I literally taught how to play the game like a few hours before, so I don't want to flex too hard.
Fair. Awesome. Sounds like it was a blast, and the kiddo loved it?
Yeah, he's all in. Very, very thrilled. And he was reluctant to go. We had kind of a cool moment where his draft, like, the cards that didn't make it into his sealed deck, I left him in his care, and he abandoned them on a table. So at the end of the night, he's like, Dad, where's the rest of my cards? I'm like, I don't know. I gave them to you, dude. And somebody had turned them in. So the store owner, who I had told Whitman was feeling kind of like nervous and reluctant about coming to he was very pleased to go, look at the kind of community we have. You abandon your stuff and somebody turns it in. So very positive all the way around. Just truly a great experience. I had such a good time.
That's a good start. I love it. How did your pre-releases go, Banana?
Good. There was two on Saturday. There was one at 12 and then one later. It was fun. They were both well attended, like 32 players. Got the judge promos for helping out at the one. Answering people's questions all day.
A lot of
And
questions, huh?
helping him out, teaching some people some things. So it was a good time. The first one, I decided I was gonna go with like Vader because that's the only time you could do Vader or Luke, right? So I forced myself into it, but the pool didn't really support it, but went with it anyway. Didn't really work, so I switched to a card pool that would work better with Luke, like between games, and then that worked really well. It turns out when you have 3 fleet lieutenants in your sealed pool that
builds itself, huh?
yeah.
Calm
And
down.
then
Calm down.
it kind of worked out the same way. It kind of worked out the same way in the other one. I went with Luke there because I had like 2 Chewbaccas, and you could just play the shield game, right? And it's not a lot of people can handle that. And I also had like a Han Solo and an Obi-Wan, so like I had some good stuff to make that work. And then that's the place that they did the top placing hero got a medal, and the top placing villain got a medal. So the hero villain or the hero medal was the Yavin battle medal, like with the certificate of authenticity from like StarWars.com or whatever. Now I know why Chewbacca never got his, is because it was being saved for me at to work the event.
That's
So
great,
yeah.
man.
To be fair, medal ceremony gives 3 experience because FFG understands Chewbacca deserved that medal.
Right, but yeah, I have the actual medal. So.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds awesome. So
what if-
I ended up going to way too many pre-releases because Magic things just worked out, and babysitters that said they couldn't do things had their calendars open. So we did the midnight one Thursday night, which was maybe a mistake, and survived through it. We had 16 players there, so they sold out, and everybody got 1 pre-release box. And what they did is after every round, everybody got a pack, and then you could readjust your deck. So people's decks were like morphing throughout the night. But they did best of ones so that we could all go to bed. So that was nice. And then everybody got to buy a second box at the end, which was awesome. I did well in that one, not spectacularly, and didn't pull anything crazily, but it was at midnight and still suffered through work the next day. So then I suffered through work the next day. And at 5 p.m. on Friday, one of the stores had one. So I went to that one after work because that was the one that I had originally planned to go to. And that one had all 32 seats taken up, which was awesome. They did the same thing where there was no incentive for crushing people. Like everybody just got a pack after every win, and then they raffled off things. So the store had donated like 2 of the single deck pods and a couple of the plastic clamshell boxes and some of the token sets. And like after every game, they'd put your ticket like in a jar, and people would get pulled to randomly win things. I didn't win anything, but it was cool for other people to win things, so that was pretty cool. Got to play against someone who won Game Genic tokens. In that one, I opened Super Laser Blast, and I also went Vader because I had a lot of control things. I had like 2 Vanquish, I had 2 Takedown, I had a Power of the Dark Side. 5 p.m. one, I went 6-0, just like Mr. Ben was talking about. And in every game, I got that Super Laser Blast really early, and I was so excited to play it that I would hold on to it the whole game. And then I would always win round 7 and be super sad because I'd be like, well, I could play this, or I should just attack and win. So in one game I got to play it because I played against my buddy Matt, who was playing Jin, and both of our decks were just non-functioning at that point. It was like the last game of the night, and he kept like reducing my dude's attack, so we just kept removing each other's units until nothing happened. And then I forgot that when I built my deck, I was like, I should do a 30-card deck. But then there were so many cool cards that I did like a 35-card deck. And he ran out of cards in his deck and started burning 3 damage a turn because neither of us had units left. But I had 5 cards left, and they were all removal events that I couldn't play. But I got 15 damage ahead, and it felt really good. So I got 1 mill win on accident, which felt bad and good.
Nice.
And then
how you end it.
We had one more Sunday night. One of the other stores that didn't think their kit was going to come in had one. And that was pretty cool. There were only 6 people at that one because it got advertised, 12 hours in advance. But our group of 4 came, and 2 other people were there, so we could teach people the game. And that one was pretty cool. I played Boba in that one, and my deck functioned super well until the finals. And then I was playing against someone who had Tarkin, and they were just hitting troopers every turn and giving them XP, and my deck was just like spitting 1-drops out. It was the things I wanted to use Boba's resource for, but they were my main play for the turn. So I'd be like, cool, here's a chopper. Oh, he's dead. Cool, here's another thing. Oh, he's dead. So didn't work so well in the final game, but got through the first 2 rounds and was super fun. All the local stores, none of them did like pack per win. They all did. Everybody gets a pack just for playing to encourage community, which was cool to see.
Cool.
Any other comments on pre-release? Any cool memories that happened or funny stories? You probably told them all already.
My first pack, I got my first few packs or whatever for this draft, and I was like, oh, there's a pack that has Thrawn on it. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna open that one first. And literally, the first pack, the first card I looked at, I pulled the Thrawn leader. I was like, well, it's all downhill from here. But yeah, I now have like a dozen of them, but
Nice. You can plaster the wall with Thrawn leaders then. He'll always be watching.
Then one up for every W.
I only have 2.
We had my best memory was after one of the events, everybody stuck around. We were just playing casually with like our draft decks. And this one guy had brought his son. I had never seen him in the store before, but like he used to play the Star Wars CCG, and he wanted his son to come see the new game with him. His kid was probably like 11 or 10, and I had swept the like actual tournament portion, and then we were playing pickup games. And his dad was on Sabine. We crushed him with Vader like we should. And then his son was like getting ready to go, and his dad's like, "You should play this guy. He's really good. He'll teach you tricks." And that kid crushed me. He didn't realize he was crushing me. He kept thinking he was losing, but I was like on the back burner the whole game, and then he ended up winning in this like casual game. And later his dad was like, "Thanks for letting my son win. He hadn't won yet today." And I was like, "Sir, he actually won. Like I didn't let him win, but I'll take credit for it if you want." So that was super cool to see this kid get super excited about his first win, because I think he had went like 0-3 through the tournament, so it was adorable. All right. We should move to topic 2 for now. So topic 2 is full release. So how did everybody's full release go? We'll go with Banana first. So we had to wait a game, or blah, 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 blah. We had to wait a whole week with just our pre-release kits. And then we finally got to start cracking boxes and seeing what we have to build decks for the Saga League that started today. So how did your release go?
I didn't get to any release events, so it was just getting the product in and opening it up. I think I have like a play set of every legendary except for like the Boba Fett unit. And then I don't have any cunning. But I did open a 3 legendary pack, which was pretty awesome. So the uncommon slot was like a hyperspace Avenger, and then I had a foil super laser blast, and the rare slot was like an aggression or a vigilance or something. So I did hit almost the best pack you could hit. The only way it could be any better is if there was a showcase. So like I was right there to almost having like the perfect pack.
That's pretty sweet.
But yeah, I've been having fun building decks with actual cards and getting ready for real games.
How does the weekly scene look for you? You think you're going to have something to go to every week?
Work and kids and sports and stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be, hoping I can get to some, but I'm not going to be able to go to all these events all the time. It's just not realistic.
Those children, I know. All right, yeah. Mr. Ben, how'd your release week go?
Pretty well. I opened 0 copies of Super Laser Blast, my number 1 most wanted pull. In fact, in our whole case, we got 1, but my kid
0.
opened it. So we got one, but I didn't get to open it. I did, however, open 2 hyperspace Boba Fett units, and my buddy Joe pulled a 3rd one, and he was like, "Here, man, let's finish that playset for you." Now, I had already decided I wasn't going to use any foils, any fancy arts. I just wanted plain cards. But in the middle of my Thrawn deck, I have these 3 hyperspace Boba Fetts, which look tremendous. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been cool seeing my kid kind of get to experience the stuff that I kind of like grew up on, like some of the fundamental experiences of my life were spending summer kind of crawling around the game store, just playing with whoever was there. Unfortunately, our home store has chosen Wednesday evening and Saturday morning as their official Star Wars Unlimited like weekly things, and that is both days when Whitman has jujitsu. So it kind of is not the best timing, but we've gone in just looking for pickup games and had no problem getting a pickup game every single time we've gone in without any issue. And our store, at least, is counting those kind of like random pickup games for our weekly, I don't know what's called, the promo packs that you get. Those are so we don't have to actually go to the designated times as long as we're there getting games in. So that works out. I hope that sustains. I mean, I know once the initial excitement falls off, it's probably going to get a little harder to find pickup games. But by then we might be into summer, in which case, that changes the schedules again. So much like Banana, the ability to play is there, but it's constrained a little by my responsibilities as a dad.
Yeah. Scheduling is always hard.
What about you, Dan? How was release weekend for you?
Our release went pretty sweet. I did have to work Friday, so I had to wait until after work to go in and pick up my case. So I picked up a case, and the store owner and 3 other people were all cracking their cases in the store. And my son, who was with me, was willing to let me crack a case next to him as long as we played a game at the same time. So we played a game of Azul while I was cracking my case. So that was super fun to do.
That's a cool
I lost
experience.
Azul. I got my butt handed to me because I wasn't paying attention. But he really loved it because people were getting excited when they'd open something and he'd get to go over and look at it. So Albuquerque is now sold out except for one store still has Star Wars Unlimited in stock of the 6 stores. So that's awesome. I mean, it's bad because people can't go pick up the game, but it's awesome that all the stores were able to sell everything they bought because it incentivizes them to buy more. So we haven't had any official weekly events yet. They all kick off this week, starting Wednesday. Someone's doing a weekly event. I'm in the same boat. I can really only go once a week, probably. So I'm probably going to Saturday night. There's a constructed tournament, but there's a learn to play on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to try to go occasionally. And we did an impromptu meetup on Sunday. So a couple days after release, we just posted on the Albuquerque Facebook group and said, like, hey, who wants to come jam some games, blah, 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 blah. My wife had kind of a bad day, so I was like, you know what? I'll take the kids with me and we'll see how it goes, right? They're each self-sufficient on iPads at this point in their life. We'll see how bad of a parent I can be and if they can just iPad the whole time. And those little kids lasted 2 hours on their iPads before they said they were ready to go home. And that was pretty amazing because I got like 6 games in those 2 hours. So we probably won't do that a lot, but if they're willing to, they might do that infrequently. We'll see. They don't get that much screen time usually. They were kind of glazed over afterwards. But they survived it, so that was cool. So at that impromptu one, even though we only gave like an hour for the posting, we had 8 people, which was awesome, right? 8 people just showed up because they were excited to play. So I'm excited to see how next Saturday goes. On the Facebook event right now, there's like 15 RSVPs, so we should have at least 15 players. And all 6 of the stores were able to get OP kits. So all 6 have packs that they can give out, and they start giving them out at their events starting Wednesday. So I guess that's tomorrow, which I will not go to, but Saturday I will. I'll report back then.
Nice.
I got a Showcase Boba in my case, so that was cool. Big fan of Showcase Boba. He's right here. I haven't sold him yet. Here. He's real. He's here. They throw him against the wall now. Just kidding. And I got a playset of everything except for Boba Fett. I got 1 Boba Fett. And the last 2 days on the way home from work, I've stopped at the game store and said, why shouldn't I buy 1 pack? Why shouldn't I? And the first one was a complete dud with just like a Bodhi in it or something like that. But the pack today, which was like in the last box that was available at the store, was a Boba Fett. So I'm up to 2 Boba Fetts now. I need 1 more, and then I have my playset complete. And I had a similar mentality to Ben going in where I said, I am not going to bling up my deck. I'm not a fan of foils. I don't like the foils in this game. I don't like them in most games. They usually curl. A lot of times it's just like pay more money for your card to be darker, which I'm not a fan of. But the hyperspace cards in all those sealed events, I'd get a hyperspace card and I'd be like, this is a bad card, but it's so pretty, it's going in my deck. So I think what I've decided is I'm gonna do regular card. I'm gonna get a playset of regular cards for my constructed decks for like premier events. And then I'm going to get a one of everything in hyperspace to make my blinged out Twin Suns decks. Because it's way easier to get one of everything than like a playset of hyperspace things. So, ooh, look at that shiny. That's shiny. I know the hyperfoils are real pretty, but there's a guy in our group that's really obsessed with them. So I can get like 4 regular hyperspace for a foil one, and I'm all about that market manipulation there. So, but so far, so good. Been loving the game. I played a bunch on webcam. Haven't gotten to, like, other than that Sunday event, go to the store to play. But this Saturday, we'll see how the local meta shapes up with everybody showing up after cracking their packs. Anybody else have any exciting things going on this week? I guess we should remind people that the Saga Leagues, the webcam league, started this week. So I've got my game in already. When we talk about decks, I'll talk about the deck I played. And you both are still scheduling your games, right? Nice.
Me too.
For a time. Awesome.
I'm planning
Well-
on reporting back a victory.
Yeah. Victory or defeat. Should we move on to our decks, or are these secret sauce decks that you can't talk about because you're playing them in the Saga League?
They're not secret. I got
Okay.
whatever.
Why don't you tell us about your deck first? And if you have a picture, you can do the fancy screen share thing because you're good at that.
Okay. I gotta find it now. So the deck I am planning on playing is my newest iteration of Grand Inquisitor. I had done like a deck tech on this before, but the deck's changed quite a bit since then. I was before doing leveraging a lot of the dudes with shields like Crafty Smuggler and the 7th Fleet Defender, which that's still in here, but I went for more of like an aggressive start and less worried about using Grand Inquisitor every turn. So it's more of aggressive early, and then in the mid game, then you switch to reset mode and try to close the game out with that. So here's the deck list that I'm planning on playing Thursday. So it's the Stormtroopers and the Greedos, right? Those are like my aggressive early drops. Ozzel, so I can do stuff like have Fifth Brother come in ready, and then I could attack twice in a turn. Something that's kind of cheeky that I've been messing with that hasn't worked out yet, but it's gonna hit at some point, and that's sneak attack with Ruthless Raider. So on the 5 resource turn, you can sneak attack in Ruthless Raider, and then Ruthless Raider can come in, deal 2 to a thing, 2 to the base, swing for 4, and then when it gets defeated during the regroup phase, you can do 2 to the base and 2 to a thing again. So it's like a 12 damage turn, which sounds like a lot of fun to me. So, I mean, you can sneak attack and other stuff too, but you're really trying to sneak attack in the Ruthless Raider. That's just like a fun thing I want to accomplish, so that's in here. But other than that, I think it's pretty normal, you know. I'm a big fan of swoop racers, so those are in here. But yeah, and then the sideboard, Change of Heart, and then stuff to handle upgrades, Bosk because he's generally very good, and then shoot first for some trading. But yeah,
I love it. I'm a big fan of Ruthless Raider, and I had not even thought of that with sneak attack before, but now I really want to.
Yeah. So I only have 2 Boba Fetts in here because I only own 2 Boba Fetts at the moment.
Okay.
So then once I get the 3rd Boba Fett, then yeah, something's gonna change here with the list. It'll change anyway, probably after the games, but yeah, and then the Force Lightning, you know, that's like shutting down a leader, basically. Like if you have to play an Iden, right, you turn off her healing for a turn. It could be pretty clutch. So, or turn off Thrawn, you know, like that sounds good to me.
Yeah, real powerful. Cool.
Any critiques or suggestions?
I want to play against it. It looks fun.
All right.
All right, Mr. Ben, you want to reveal your masterpiece?
Okay. So, on is actually. Oh, did it not? It's Thrawn is actually the deck that I have put the most time into and worked the hardest on. But I was playing on
Nice.
over webcam the other day with my friend, and he was like, "You know what, man? I'm just not having any fun." So I thought, okay, I need a deck that's a little more fun and that's a little less mean. So I put this together, and to be fair, this deck can be a little bit mean too when you get the hot draws. So the basic concept here is we've got some solid command units in the 2-drop and the 3-drop from command to try to just sort of stabilize the board and not get run over by aggro. Same thing with Greedo. But the core combo is starting. We want to hit a resupply before we have 5 resources, because on the 5 resource, we want to hit the 5 resource turn and then be able to use Han to get to 6, then deploy Han and attack with Han to get to 7, and then on basically turn 4, like your 4 resource turn, I'm playing a 7-drop, or your 5 resource turn, I'm playing an 8-drop with home 1, which also craps out some extra guys. So when we get to 7, we can play Han, the unit rather than the leader. He comes down, he kills something, and then we can flip the ground. The real spicy thing I like in here is the front line shuttle, being able to use U-wing reinforcements to get a U-wing shuttle out of nowhere and then get an extra attack with my Han, or have them drop an Admiral Akbar to kill something. Traitorous has massively overperformed for me. The only reason I would side that out is in a matchup where I know my opponent has upgrade destruction, in which case I'd put in the change of hearts. Being able to steal opposing units has been surprisingly more powerful than I anticipated. I mean, stealing other people's stuff is always good. It feels a lot stronger here with the action economy, because you're not only denying them the unit you're developing, and then you have that thing to attack with. Assuming I don't like stealing exhausted units. I like stealing stuff, like having the initiative, stealing it, and then attacking you with your own unit. So I definitely need a 3rd Falcon in here. I don't have one, but other than that, I feel like I sort of want to maybe try Ezra's in here as well, although losing the Sentinel in the form of the command 3-drop probably is no good if I run into aggro matchups. So that's where I'm at with the list for now, and sometimes it just doesn't work. You just don't draw the payoff, or you don't draw the ramp, and you can't get things to really function, because without that burst, you can get behind really quick. But when it functions, it feels, well, kind of unfair. How about you, Dan?
Yeah,
What are you on?
In a card game. Trying to figure out how to share the right screen. Entire screen. Here we go. Boom. So this is the deck I played in my first round for Saga League. I wanted to play something that I thought would be a little more casual, so I went with Hera. And Energy Conversion Lab is just really good, so I included it. And it went really well. This deck has overperformed for me as well. I thought Rebels were going to be more of a funsy deck type, but this one works really well. And I've been trying to figure out if mono colors really work. And I think in green, at least, the cards are strong enough to warrant it. So the goal here is to drop something like a Battlefield Marine or a Mon Mothma turn 1. And then, again, an Echo-based Defender. That 4/3 with Sentinel is really good for your second turn. And then to slowly ramp up and start getting your Spectres out and bouncing things back to hand. But really, Command is the card that has overperformed for me. There's so many games where I'll throw 2 experience onto that Echo-based Defender and then have them slam into someone for 6 without taking any damage back. As long as they're a non-unique unit, that works out. The biggest problem I've had with this deck, and I didn't put a sideboard in because I forgot that sideboards existed in this until after my match, so go me. But I probably would have put in 3 X-Wings, 3 Spark of the Rebellion, and 3 Traitorous. Those are like the cards that I've been eyeing at trying to figure out how to fit into this deck. But basically the goal is for everything to like get you something just when it comes into play if it can. And you can do that with Energy Conversion Lab, right? A lot of the problems with the Rebel characters are if you play them and then don't get to attack with them, cool things don't necessarily happen, right? If Ezra gets wiped out before he completes an attack, it's not exciting. But if you can Energy Conversion Lab him in and get that card advantage, it works really well. Same thing with Kanan. You get like some healing with your Energy Conversion Lab, so it makes up for that 5 health loss. And Zeb with Energy Conversion Lab has been my MVP. He's taken out so many leaders by swinging into a weenie and pinging the leader for 4, and then the leader basically has to attack into him or they lose game. And that's just been incredibly strong. Cards I think I'm going to drop. I've never had good luck with my U-Wing reinforcements. Usually if I get to 7, I've either lost or won by that point because I'm not ramping a ton unless it's through command. That being said, U-Wing reinforcement hitting 2 things and then dropping an Akbar has been amazing when it does hit. So I'm still on the fence about that one. And I'd probably drop my Rebel Assaults for some more space units because my space arena is very, very light until I get to Bright Hope. You might say it's non-existent. I'm counting on drawing Strike True or Command. So I need a little bit more space defense, and then I'll be pretty happy. But I mainly built this deck because my son wants to play this game, and he's really obsessed with Rebels. So he wants to play a Rebels deck, so I thought I would test it for a while and give him like a functioning deck as his first deck when we go to the store to try to play with the other kids and stuff. But it's been super fun. I've been incredibly impressed with how overperforming double green has been for me. So now I want to try out the other double aspects and see if they work out just as well.
Very cool.
So those are our 3 decks for this week. Do we have listener questions?
We do. I'm going to do the Twitter ones first. So on Twitter, John, who is GG Lights Out, he asked us what decks we're building, which we just talked about. And then he asked what kind of events are the stores around you hosting? Premier, open play, anyone doing tournaments, draft, or sealed? Like, what are your stores up to? Ben, I'll have you start off on this one.
So for the first couple weeks, it's been a lot of draft and sealed for kind of obvious reasons. Everybody wants to crack packs. And this week, the featured events at my store are Twin Suns, which I thought was really cool. I have been able to play some Twin Suns, somewhat limited card pool, but it's tremendously cool, and I'm glad that the stores are taking that format seriously, and at least one of the 3 stores in the area is supporting it with events.
Twin Suns is a blast. Dan, what are your stores up to? Is Twin Suns running Twin Suns events?
Yeah, so we actually have a store called Twin Suns Comics and Games. Its logo is like the Tatooine Twin Suns, and it's owned by a pair of twin suns, like realistic twin suns. That's how they like got their name and like made their Star Wars joke. So they're running events. Ironically, not running Twin Suns events. They're running open play for now, Saturdays at noon. And then if you really want to make an epic day of Star Wars Unlimited, come down to Albuquerque because Saturday at like 3, another game store is running casual open play where they're going to have learn to plays. They're going to have, you can do like a little 3-round tournament within people. Most of the stores here for all their card games, they do 3-round tournaments for all their weekly events. And it's just best of 3 rounds of Swiss and see who comes out on top, and maybe they'll give a pack out or whatever. And then at 6 p.m., another store is running an event on Saturday. So if people have 9 hours of their life to play Star Wars Unlimited, it sounds like a blast. I do not have that much, but I wish I did. And that store always runs tournaments. They're going to do a best of 3 tournaments on Saturdays, and Mondays they're doing casual play. And then there's one store that just announced like an hour ago that they're doing Twin Suns on Thursdays. So I really want to check that out. I think that one is it's a board game pizzeria, so that should be pretty cool. That one the kids might come to eat the pizza while I play.
We'll sleeve those cards, man.
There's triple.
No, grease right over them. I'm just kidding. Mine are triple sleeved over here like a real nerd. All those plastic trees, I've killed them.
My store's the one store they're doing like casual, just come out and hang out for like the first month or so, and then they're going to start running 3-round events. Another store I know they're rotating, so they're doing actually Friday and Saturday every week. So they're doing like Friday might be constructed, and then Saturday might be like limited, and then the next week it'll rotate. Like Friday will be limited and Saturday will be constructed. So that's going to rotate, and then there's a couple other stores that said they're doing stuff, but they're figuring out how they're structuring it yet. So, but yeah, that's what's happening around me.
All our stores wanted to do draft, but they didn't have any product left, so it's a tough problem to have.
Yeah. Citizens Orville Arcana on Twitter, which I'm going to shout out them real quick. They, if anyone follows our Twitter account, right, it's mostly me. And I play the Twitter game pretty well, where whenever someone is complaining about a card game, I jump in there to talk about Star Wars Unlimited. And then whenever people talking about like Lorcana, I've had good interaction with this person, first from like a kind of trolling Twitter game standpoint, but now we've actually like messaged like in the DMs back and forth quite a bit. So he appreciates the game I play on Twitter. So I just wanted to just shout out him because he's been real cool. And he's covered Lorcana forever. So shout out to them. But he asked, this one is specifically for Mr. Ben. Is there a viable Thrawn deck out there?
Oh yeah, I think there's that I really like, and I think are on.
So says someone.
I will try to summarize these quickly. I think you can go double cunning with Thrawn, and the payoff cards in the form of Bodhi, Cunning, and
I'm pretty sure
Cantina
the rule is
Pouncer
there can only be 2.
are
so-
fantastic. It's just added extra control elements that he really benefits from. However, the mono yellow version of Thrawn suffers, and there really isn't a good top end. Chimera seems really scary when you read it, but it has to attack to do literally anything, and a lot of times it just dies, so you kind of struggle at the top end. Then there's this interesting variant that I don't think is as good, but some people have sworn by it, where you sort of forsake the ground arena entirely and you rely on strafing gunship. I think it's outmaneuver, the one that exhausts the entire arena, the 8-drop blue walker that exhausts the entire ground arena, and entrenched. So, oh, you deployed your big scary Vader? Cool, entrenched. And there's no units there for you to attack, so it can't do anything. So that is a fun version, but in my experience, if you don't draw the tricks in the right order, like when you do draw the tricks, you feel like Galaxy Brain. You feel like Thrawn. You've got your spaceships up here, your strafing gunship killing those ground units, stupid little ground units. But when you draw your deck in the wrong order, you buckle like a belt. Like you just have nothing. Or if the opponent is really strong in space, you can end up in trouble there too. My favorite Thrawn is Thrawn Vigilance, where you use the excellent Vigilance package, like Kennedy was talking about, with Power of the Dark Side, Takedown, Vanquish, Super Laser Blast, Avenger at the top end, and you use Thrawn as more or less every turn in the early game to lock down those early game units until you can get your Sentinels up and get your removals in place, and that's the Thrawn that I think is the world beater, in my opinion. So, too long didn't read. The answer is yes.
Nice.
Informant wants to know, what leader do you think is better?
I think I'm going to go with Chewbacca. I think Chewbacca is better than people give him credit for, especially if you can get to the 7 resources to get him out. He can shut down an entire arena and really change the game. I've only seen him really have success in green, just because you can ramp to him faster, but I think he's better than people currently give him credit for. Insert Wookiee noise.
I got that. Which one is it? I got the Wookiee noise. It's this one.
Yeah.
I had to look at my cheat sheet that tells me what button does what sound. So Ben, what leader do you think? You can't say Thrawn without saying Thrawn. What leader do you think is better than most people give credit for?
No, you outmaneuvered me, because that was absolutely going to be my answer. Gosh, the non-Thrawn leader that isn't getting enough credit, probably Han. I think he's actually getting kind of adequate credit, but I think Boba, Sabine, Iden, that's all deserved and kind of obvious. And I'm not going to get behind IG-88, Cassian, Jin, Krennic. So yeah, I think maybe Han is the guy that I think has more legs. Like, he should be a bigger part of the higher tier conversation than he is. Maybe.
All right. My answer. What leader do I think is better than most? I'm going to say Cassian is probably better than what he gets credit for. He has a really strong ability. It's just like Sabine exists, but there's something there with Cassian where you can leverage the card draw somehow. It might not be. I don't think anybody's cracked it yet, but it's there. I think Cassian is better than people are giving him credit. Then Discord. The Discord. Jodo asked, what's the best control option we currently have that can compete with top meta decks?
With the best deck
So
or the
Dan,
best
what
cards?
best control option do we currently have? It just says the best control option we currently have that can compete with top meta decks, if any.
I've got two opinions. One is that Overwhelming Barrage is a busted card, and people like it for a good reason. So any deck that runs green villain, Overwhelming Barrage is your answer to most things. You gotta wait till turn 5 or turn 4, right? If you're ramping, or turn 3 or turn 4 if you're ramping, 4 or 3. But that +2/+2 to keep something alive and to spread that damage around can really wipe boards and put you at an even state with the rest of the field. Deck wise, I still think Vader with vigilance, with just a neutral vigilance base, a 30 hit point base, you can really, if you hit your removal curve, like stall the game out until turn 5 just by hitting removal, right? Don't even play something round 1 if you need to, but you can hit Power of the Dark Side with initiative on turn 2. You can hit Takedown on turn 3, Vanquish on turn 5, and then all of a sudden all 3 of the units they played, if they stayed on curve, are gone. And if you get into the late game with Vader, when you're popping Ruthless Raiders and Vader and Emperor Palpatine out, it becomes a really offsetting game. So the key with control is you have to last long enough until you start being the beatdown. And I think Vader Red-Blue has it.
Yeah. And what do you think's the best control option right now?
So I'm gonna approach this from the idea of card packages. So there's two control packages that I think are really strong. And one of these I have to I guess eat a little bit of crow because I said on this show that blue was the color I was least excited to mess around with. And then we got Super Laser Blast, and that was like the icing on top of the cake. Blue Darkside has probably the best actual removal in the game. Like Kennedy just said, Power Darkside, Takedown, Vanquish, Super Laser Blast at the top. It's really difficult to deal with. I do think Cunning also has a lot of good disruption, not true removal, like Waylay, Bamboozle. These cards are not actually removing the threat and putting it into the KO pile, but they're getting things off the board. No Good to Me Dead locks things down for a couple of turns. So between those two colors, if you look at the cards that they have to make it so your opponent can't attack you, whether by killing things or by exhausting things or bouncing them, whatever it is, those are the two packages that I find myself wanting to put in basically every deck I make when I'm trying to like be serious to collect W's. I want the blue villain curve. I want the cunning lockdown pieces, and those I'm not denying Overwhelming Barrage is also very, very good. That's certainly true, but those are the two colors that I think give me the most ways to reach out and make it so you can't play your game and I can make sure you're not having any fun while I win. What about you, Banana?
The card that I think is kind of slowly becoming one of my favorite cards the more I play it is Forced Surrender. And that's the one, like, it's expensive, it costs 6, but if you dealt damage to a base, you draw 2 and you make your opponent discard 2 cards from their hand. I put that main deck in Iden, and that's been like a blowout versus Boba Fett. That's okay, buy Fire Spray. Like, you play that, their Fire Spray disappears out of their hand right before they were going to play, like, that's been nasty to see your opponent late game. They're playing things and they have 2 cards in their hand. You hit him with that Forced Surrender, and all of a sudden they have no hand. You just shut them down for like 2 turns, basically. So I'm gonna say Forced Surrender as a card. As a deck, I'm gonna agree with Dan. Like, I've been messing with the Vader red or the Vader blue and like Iden blue. And Iden's healing is nice, but Vader's ability to ping and then sets up a lot of other removal and makes all the removal like takedown and open fire. It makes those better because you give them more reach off of Vader's ability. Even force choke, you give more reach off of Vader's ability. So I think Vader with blue is pretty disgusting as a control.
And just in general for the question, it's what's really nice about this game is there are control options in all 4 of our non-heroism villainy aspects, right? We've got open fire, and aggression, inaggression, We've got Command and Strike True and Overwhelming Barrage and Command. We've got Cunning and Waylay and all that nastiness in Cunning and that yellow land that I will never play. And we got Takedown, Vanquish, Power of the Dark Side, all that stuff in blue. So whatever color you pick, you can include some control options. And what I found to be successful with piloting control decks in this game is you sort of build your deck to either want to go first and be the control player or want to go second. And depending on the matchup, that might change. So having a versatile deck that has control options, depending on what, who has the initiative, can be really strong. That way you can pivot both ways.
And I think an advantage Vader also gets over the Iden deck is like, I think while Iden can play Super Laser Blast and potentially get healing off of it, Vader, like you don't deploy Vader until you play Super Laser Blast if you're gonna play it, and then you play it, you wipe the board, and then you deploy Vader, and now you have this boss monster they have nothing to deal with because you just wiped their entire board. Just a thought, but yeah. Next question we had, we're not gonna ask Ryback's son. We're not gonna ask it, but we do have this.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
That's how you should approach any large Discord or Facebook group, with caution. And I think that was it for listener questions.
Oh, I've got one from my locals. They asked me a question because they said, "You've played too much of this game. Tell me something." So one of the ways I pitch this game to people, right, is the whole name unlimited means you can include any card in your deck, even cards from outside your aspect. So I got asked several times by people at pre-releases and at the release, what's a card you would pay the two cost aspect penalty to play in a deck that it doesn't necessarily fit in? So I thought that would be a cool question for us to all answer. If anybody's got
what's
one
the
in mind.
context? Is this like sealed or draft, or is this a constructed deck? Because that changes significantly, I think.
In a constructed deck, what is a card that you would include and pay the 2 aspect penalty on? What's a card that is printed cost 4 that's worth 6, or printed cost 1 that's worth 3 in the right deck?
So I have 2 that come to mind.
Mm-hmm.
So one of them is you posted a picture in our podcasting planning channel about a deck you're helping a local guy build that's on focusing on discarding, and I think you could pay 6 for Han there, or 6 for Kane in there, to rip more cards off the top of the deck. That's one specifically in that deck I think might be worth it, since that's his whole strategy. Another one is the vigilance. So just the vigilance card. If you're trying to play like a control game, but you're like, in yellow blue, right? You're like in Thrawn or Iden or Vader, like vigilance, the ability to heal 5 or give a shield or nuke something and heal. Like there's a lot of versatility there that I think could be worth 6. Those are the 2 that came to mind for me. One a specific instance for you.
So I think if you're going to mention vigilance in Thrawn, the big reason you can get away with paying 6 for vigilance in those control matchups is the one mode you didn't mention, which is the mill 6 cards. If you take 6 cards off the top of your opponent's deck in a game that's going really long, and maybe you run a couple of vigilance, so now you're talking about pulling 12 cards off the top of the deck, you can push your opponent into fatigue a lot more quickly than they can push you into fatigue. And that, I'm not convinced that that's optimal, but that's certainly something I've been hearing people talk about in like, I should shout out the Let's Build the Best Thrawn chat on the Discord. I don't know who started it, but it's a great place if you're looking for tips on how to play the best leader. And that's the first place I heard people talking about being willing to play vigilance for 6, specifically for that mill. I have experimented with paying 6 for cunning, like the cunning card, the double aspect one. It's not in my list anymore. I'm pretty hard pressed to think of cards that I'd be willing to overpay for. I feel like it has to be something where you're trying to target a very specific purpose. Like if you have a deck that's really desperate for ramp, maybe you're willing to pay the 2 extra for Super Laser DJ. if you're not on the dark side. Probably not though, because then it's so late. Like, and that's the problem. There's a lot of cards that, like, if I could somehow play the card now and pay the penalty next turn, that'd still be great. But having to push some of these cards, I don't think there's any in like aggressive or even mid-range matchups where you're going to be willing to do it. It's got to be control, and it's got to be for a control deck to access a specific tool. And the double symbol, cunning and aggression, well, not aggression, but cunning, vigilance, and command, I think are probably the three best examples where you could make a decent case for paying 6 for a 4-costed card.
I find it funny that you said not aggression, because that's the one that I think has the most potential. So I think aggression's a really good card. It costs 4, and you get to choose 4 things. All 4 things are super varied, and they're all super useful, right? If you sideboard things to get rid of upgrades because you're worried about an upgrade deck, well, now you've got an upgrade card that in non-upgrade matchups could do damage, and it could draw a card. If you look at the cards that do the same thing in aggression, right? Open Fire is pay 3 to do 4 damage. So you've got 3 of the 6 costs covered already. Mission Briefing or Mission Prep, right, is pay 3 to draw 2 cards. So you're paying a little bit of a premium to get 2 things for 1 action. But that seems almost worth it to me to pay 6 for aggression. And then I mentioned Overwhelming Barrage earlier. That card is just really strong. So I've even played it in heroism decks. I think that's allowed. You still have to pay the 2 extra because you don't have the villainy aspect. But paying 7 for that card and like wiping a board with it, a one-sided board wipe where you don't have to super laser blast, is amazing. Especially if you play it like on your hero, like Leia or whoever you have up at the time, on Chewbacca when he's got a bunch of grit damage on him, and you spread this damage everywhere and wipe the board without losing your units. It just blows out games. But I agree, for that one, it's sort of a control option that you get this option to spread damage but not take damage back, which you don't get in any other card that you have in your card pool. But those are the cards that I think of. I haven't tried Vigilance yet, but I want to now. Looks fun.
That was it. So I don't have,
That's
I
it.
don't have
So
anything
I
else.
have a proposal.
Well, I guess at that point,
Well, hold on.
see
Before
everybody.
we stop, I have a proposal.
Oh, proposal.
Um,
Time
I
out.
I'm already married,
propose
but I'll hear you
that
out.
we just decide to say turn 2 or turn 5 or whatever. And everybody knows that when I say turn 5, I mean the turn where you have 5 resources. And we just like accept that as community shorthand, and we can stop playing this silly game.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. I've corrected myself 7 times
I was
already.
fumbling over that earlier, and I was like, you know
I
what?
think
No,
that's
no
a
more of
great
this. We're just
idea.
going to say
So,
turn 5.
When I say turn 5, that means my 5 resource turn. I got it. I'm good. Let's do it.
All right, all in favor? There we go.
Proposal accepted.
All right, now you may proceed,
Aye.
Kennedy. Apologies for stepping on your toes there.
All right. All right.
The motion
Well,
carries.
since we're done with our proposals here, we will see y'all in the arenas.
This party's over.